Are you starting to feel that your momentum and energy for your business is starting to fizzle and fade a little as we get deeper and deeper into the year? Or maybe you just want to reconnect with your priorities and your goals and ensure that you are maximizing your effectiveness and productivity on your way to achieving them. Well, if so, then I would love to invite you to join me for Biz Boost 2025. It's a week-long event that I'm hosting in May that you can attend from anywhere in the world. I like to describe it as a week of being in CEO mode. Every day, we focus on a particular area that's going to contribute to the growth and momentum of your business, and we take action together right there on the call. Make sure that you head to tashcorbin.com/bizboost to check it out and grab your ticket because early bird is closing soon. That link again is tashcorbin.com/bizboost. Have you ever felt like your boundaries have been crossed simply by participating in some kind of marketing or sales experience? Whether it be that you opt in for a free resource and end up being spammed, or you just feel like you're really being manipulated into pressure tactics to buy something, I think it's very easy for us to think about times when we've experienced coercion-based marketing. That is, marketing that bypasses our consent, that manipulates and persuades, and that often leaves us feeling really uncomfortable or icky, whether that be you buy something and you have instant buyer's remorse, or you don't buy something, but it's made you feel completely hopeless because you weren't able to buy the thing. Well, in today's episode of the Heart Centered Business podcast, I want to break down what exactly is consent-based marketing and why is it so powerful as a tool for us or even a strategic choice as business owners online in the current climate. This is episode number 474 of the Heart Centered Business podcast. That means you can find all the relevant links and the show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/474. Let's dive in. Hello, I'm Tash Corbin, a business strategist and mentor based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. The mission of this podcast is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs to make more money, and in doing so, change the world for the better. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Gubbi Gubbi and Jinnaburra people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thinking about the types of marketing activities and sales activities you may have been exposed to that weren't exactly consent-based, I wanted to give you a few examples of what this might look like. So if you've ever received unsolicited promotion emails or direct messages or text messages where you didn't overtly or expressly give permission to receive them, that is not consent-based. Maybe you've had someone friend you on social media and then they make it seem like they want to be a buyer of your business, but then somehow the conversation turns around to you buying from them. Or they slide into your direct messages and say, oh, I love your business, or how's everything going with your business? Or I feel like we've got common connections and we should be friends. But very quickly it becomes clear that they are fishing for information as to whether you might be a fit to work with them, or they just go straight in with the hard sell. You may have even signed up for a freebie and given permission to receive emails from time to time, but then you've been flooded with emails. And this is certainly something I've experienced far more in the last 18 months as a business owner. Signing up for a free webinar and getting 16 emails before the webinar has even happened is the most recent experience I've had. Or you go to a webinar and at the end, you aren't going to buy the offer, the upsell, but you leave that experience feeling panicked about your strategy or panicked about your situation, or you feel despondent and sad and hopeless because you couldn't make that investment or it wasn't in your capacity to make that investment. You may have felt pressured or wrong for having questions or needing to think about an investment. I once was pitched a $25,000 year-long mastermind, and after saying I need to talk to my partner about it, I was then made to feel less than and told, well, I thought you were a financially independent, empowered business owner. I didn't pick you to be someone who needs to get permission from their partner. And I hadn't said I needed permission. I'd said I needed to discuss it. But anyway, I didn't end up buying because I was being pressured. I was being made to feel less than because I didn't say yes immediately. Or maybe you've just purchased something and you've been super excited at the time, but as the days passed, you start to wonder why you even purchased in the first place. Now, on the flip side, you've probably experienced being told to do these things to other people as well. You've probably been told to email cold contacts, friend request people you don't know, DM people who comment on your posts or like them, send daily or even more regular emails to your mailing list. Don't give away too much for free in your webinars, otherwise people won't buy from you. You've probably been told that you must close your sales on the sales call or they're just not going to buy from you. Or you may have been told that a no or an objection is just one step closer to a yes if you just have the right strategies or scripts. And with marketing strategies like this being taught as the norm, that's just the way things are done, it's no wonder then, as heart-centered entrepreneurs, that we shy away from the marketing and sales parts of our business. It's no wonder that when I ask questions about sales skills and learning sales strategies, most people give me a response around, oh, I just want my work to speak for itself, or I don't like doing the hard selling stuff, or I don't really love doing marketing. I just create lots of really good content. And what that means is that for the heart-centered, soul-driven entrepreneurs out there, most of them are making fewer sales, are not equipping themselves with sales skills and strategies, and ultimately, we are letting the people who use manipulation, coercion, and trickery be the ones who have the most success. Yes, it's important that we have consent, and consent matters. And there are ways to market and do sales that are deeply consent-based. And it is my mission to go out there into the world as much as possible and talk about consent-based marketing. Because when we break it down and when we understand the difference, for most people, that's the obvious choice. Not just because consent-based marketing feels better and it's less yucky and we have to use less of those tactics that feel out of alignment to us. In fact, we don't use any tactics that are out of alignment for us. But also because in the current climate, consent-based marketing and sales have higher conversion rates. They also have higher completion rates. So people actually are more likely to read your emails, finish watching your webinars. The other thing is that consent-based marketing strategies have lower unsubscribe rates. So you have less churn and burn of people in your audience. Therefore, you need to spend less time and money growing that audience because you're developing long-term relationships built on trust rather than trying to squeeze as many dollars as you can out of people in the short term and leaving a bunch of people in your wake who have unsubscribed, have a weird feeling, or you have actually left them triggered and traumatized, which a lot of coercion-based marketing strategies can actually do. So consent-based marketing isn't just about permission, but it starts with permission. In consent-based marketing, we consider the impact of our actions, not just our intent. And it means that we need to be a little more discerning about the strategies and tactics that we use to attract and convert clients. It's particularly important, especially in today's climate, because this is how you start your relationship with most of your audience members, is through your marketing. And people are paying attention. They are more wary now of these types of tactics. And most marketing strategies that are still being taught this day and age are not consent-based. They are coercion-based. The great news is that when you build your marketing strategies with consent-based foundations, you'll feel better, your audience will feel better, and you'll make more sales. When I work with people and they hear me talk about consent-based marketing for the first time, they get so excited, right? Because you can build a marketing approach that you're excited to implement each week. And you fall back in love with doing marketing because your marketing makes people feel good. So there are 4 layers to consent-based marketing foundations. They are legal compliance, so making sure you have permission and you're complying with anti-spam laws, privacy laws, those sorts of things around contacting people and having their information. But layer 2 is seeking permission, so being more overt and more obvious in the ways that you seek permission throughout your marketing and strategy. So rather than just making sure that you're legally compliant with taking someone's email address, actually asking for permission. For example, is it okay if I send you a DM with that resource? Or would you like me to send you an email with this information? Or would it be okay if I jumped on a Zoom call with you? So it's just making sure that along the path, you are getting permission to proceed further. And of course, if someone doesn't want to proceed any further, why would you want to force them? A lot of the coercion-based marketing tactics and strategies are actually built on fear. Fear that if you are upfront and honest and transparent about what it is that you're doing and why, people would not participate. And if that is the case, that people would not participate in coming to your webinar if they knew that you were going to do a sales pitch at the end, then why would you want to trick them? Doesn't that say that the value of coming to your webinar is not strong enough? And why wouldn't we want to fix that? Layer 3 of consent-based marketing foundations is transparency. So rather than just assuming people understand what's going to happen, it involves giving people more information about what happens from here. So transparency can involve things like at the start of a webinar, I always give people the agenda of what I'm going to be covering. And I will say, in this webinar, I'm going to cover A, B, and C. And then if at the end I'm talking about the takeoff program, I'll say, and at the end of the webinar, I will let you know how I can support you further through my takeoff program. But if you're not in a position to purchase the program right now, or you don't want to hear about takeoff at this point in time, you can just exit the webinar at that point in time. I'm not going to reserve some special bribe or some special gift for after you've heard the sales pitch to force you to sit and listen to something you don't want to listen to. I am here to reassure you that at that point, if you have no interest in joining the takeoff program or hearing about it, you are 100% welcome to leave. And I will reassure you that you will not miss out on any of the juiciest content. I will have covered the entire workshop by that point in time. So you would think, oh gosh, isn't that a risk? Like, what if everyone leaves? Well, if everyone leaves, then that to me says I haven't actually presented a compelling enough webinar for people to be curious about the takeoff program and working with me. So wouldn't I rather know that? Wouldn't I rather have that information? So transparency is layer number 3. Layer number 4 is responsibility. And in consent-based marketing, this is where we really get into the nuance of ensuring you're not using coercion strategies simply because someone told you that you should use these strategies or this is how people do it. Now, I will be 100% upfront with you. Most people who teach coercion-based marketing, they don't call it coercion-based marketing, do they? They'll tell you, oh no, this is totally legit. This is totally fine. Yeah, this is totally consent-based and it's trauma-informed, when in a lot of cases it absolutely isn't. So when I talk about responsibility as the final layer of consent-based marketing, I'm referring to things like listening to feedback from your audience. Now, we do that with boundaries. If someone wants to make fun of my eyebrows, I don't need to listen to that feedback, right? Like their criticism of my appearance is not relevant. But if someone says to me, did you know you're using a term which actually has ableist connotations? I absolutely will listen to that feedback and take that feedback on board. Plus, I will also ensure that I review my understanding. I will review the feedback or the consultations that I did around my language and ensure that if I have used a term that is ableist, first and foremost, I absolutely apologize. Secondly, I take responsibility for being uninformed. And thirdly, I change my behavior. Because it's not just about my intention. My intentions were pure. Well, that's all well and good. But if I've used a term or a phrase that's hurt people, then I absolutely want to take responsibility for that and prevent that from happening further. In the responsibility space as well, I consider those people who are not going to purchase from me. So an example of that is that webinar, right? I don't want people forced to sit and listen to a pitch for the Takeoff program, getting more and more worked up about the fact that they can't afford to purchase the Takeoff program and feeling more and more like this program would be so amazing for me. Oh my gosh, Tash would be able to help me so much. Because actually what I'm doing is I'm disempowering that person. So whenever I craft a webinar, my number one driver and consideration is this webinar a fantastic use of people's time and energy and attention span if they do not purchase the Takeoff program? So I'm not just focused on how people feel once they get to the end of the webinar and they purchase the Takeoff program. I consider the people who do not purchase the Takeoff program. And that's why I invite people, if they're not in a position to purchase the Takeoff program, I invite them to leave the webinar at that point in time because I don't want to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out. I don't want to create any kind of fear or worry that, oh, look, this looks so perfect. This looks like the perfect program, but I don't have the capacity for that right now. I want them to leave the webinar with really tangible strategies, which I always deliver, with really powerful insights and motivation, ready to rock and roll. And so for some people, that means they leave before the sales pitch. And that is absolutely brilliant. And I empower and encourage people to do that. It's also about rejecting fear-based marketing and analyzing the different strategies that we use. Why is it that this is the process that most marketers are telling me to do? Why is it that I am being told over and over again, if someone doesn't buy from you within 30 days of joining your mailing list, they're never going to buy from you? Because at the end of the day, that's actually not true. It is not true, but it's like one of the most vicious rumors about email marketing I've ever heard. I've never seen evidence to back it up. I've never seen data that supports that. And in a lot of cases, the reason why you need to make a sale within the first 30 days is the marketing strategies and the email strategy that's being taught to you to send to people within that first 30 days is so aggressive. It's so overwhelming. A huge portion of your audience will have unsubscribed by the time you get to 30 days. But if you actually considered your audience, took responsibility for the way that you treated the humans who are on your mailing list, and crafted an email marketing strategy that was far more value driven and far less aggressive, you wouldn't have the unsubscribe rates. And so there's no pressure to make the sale within the first 30 days. One of the reasons why you may have heard that rhetoric about you must get the sale secured on the call, you got to take the credit card details on the call, is because it's actually a fear-based strategy. It's based on the fear that if you let people think about their purchase for too long, they'll think their way out of it. But if someone can change their mind within 48 hours of saying yes to buying from you, they should be 100% entitled to a 100% refund. Because to me, that says if you've got a lot of people who've got buyer's remorse, or you've got a big fear that people will have buyer's remorse and that they're not going to buy because you give them too long to think about it, what does that say about your belief in what you're actually offering? About your belief in your marketing processes to help people make an empowered and informed decision versus being worried that you've tricked them into buying something, and if you don't get their credit card, they'll be onto you and they won't buy it. Why are these strategies being taught to you? In a lot of cases, it's because it is fear-driven, and it's because that's the only way they know how to make sales. That's the only marketing strategies they've been able to get to work, is using this trickery, coercion, persuasion, manipulation. Instead, I want you to think about the consent-based difference. You build more trust when you take responsibility and treat people with respect and dignity, even when they don't buy anything from you. There's the Maya Angelou quote, I'm going to butcher it, that says, people won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, they'll remember how you made them feel. Think about the emotion that people experience when they are engaging with your marketing and sales strategies. Don't you want to make them feel safe? Don't you want to make them feel seen? Don't you want to make them feel empowered, valued, humanized? Most of these very aggressive coercion-based strategies dehumanize people. They treat people like a number. It's a churn and burn strategy. Not only that, you're stepping into leadership because you're role modeling integrity rather than resorting to trickery. And that feels so much more aligned, especially for those of us who are values-driven, who want to be authentic and act in integrity online. We don't just want to act in integrity once someone has paid us money, once someone is a paying client. We want to act in integrity in every facet of our business, whether that be in working with our team, creating a safe environment for the people who contribute to our business, or whether it be in your marketing, whether it be in the events that you run, or for your paying clients. Being aligned with your integrity is not something you pick and choose where you do it. It's something where the more that you can consistently bring it to every facet of your business, the more your business flows, the more you reduce your resistance and your mindset wobbles, because you know that you're doing good in the world with your marketing, not just with your services. And think about the difference to your confidence as well. How much more confident would you feel about showing up and about marketing and about doing sales activities if you could feel completely confident that those activities are consent-based? Ultimately, when it comes to consent-based marketing strategies and tactics, for me, it's the right thing to do. And that is enough reason. Now, I know that as a neurodivergent person who has a high justice drive, For me, it's pretty crystal clear that I don't want to operate my business or be out online or talking to humans or running my business in any way that feels like I'm not contributing to the good in the world, that I'm not contributing to positivity. And so for me, it's just the fact that it really is the right thing to do. That is enough reason for me to choose consent-based marketing. Regardless of whether it was higher conversion or lower conversion, I would always choose consent-based marketing. Thankfully, it's higher conversion. If it meant that I made a little less money or a lot less money to use consent-based marketing compared to using trickery and manipulation, I'd still choose consent-based marketing. But the great thing is that actually, especially in the online space, we are seeing consent-based marketers outperform coercion-based marketers all the time. Consent-based marketing practices are becoming more and more prolific, but they're also becoming more and more the expectation of online buyers as well. And if there is even a hint of coercion or manipulation, people are much wiser to it and they're much better at spotting it. So there we have it, the 4 layers of consent-based marketing foundations. Layer 1, legal compliance. Layer 2, ensuring that you're seeking permission for the progress to the next stage. Layer 3, transparency, being upfront about what's going to happen. And layer 4, responsibility, ensuring that you are discerning in your marketing and sales strategies and paying attention to the impact of those, not just your intent. Now, if this conversation has sparked up your curiosity and you'd like to learn more about practical marketing strategies that will help you to take a more consent-based approach and increase your conversion rates, the good news is I am actually running a masterclass in May of 2025. And as a listener to the podcast, you get access to the cheapest available price at all times by heading to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/474. So this upcoming consent-based marketing masterclass actually covers both sides of the coin. We start by looking at how to spot coercion-based marketing and sales strategies and tactics, and some of the most commonly used ones online, so that as a buyer, you can be far more discerning and far more informed and aware of how you are being treated by people who are trying to sell to you. Now, not only is this really powerful in saving you a bunch of money and saving you from a lot of psychological manipulation that gets you to buy things that you actually don't want to buy, but it's also the perfect lens through which we can, as marketers ourselves, spot some of those commonly recommended strategies and tactics, unpack why they are actually coercion-based, and look at what is the consent-based alternative. How can we still achieve really high conversion rates and ensure we're not just shying away from sales and marketing altogether, but instead lean into sales and marketing, but doing it in a very values-aligned, consent-based way that feels like it's deeply in our integrity for people who buy and for people who don't. So if you are listening to this before the live masterclass in May, come on over to the show notes at tashcorbin.com/474. And the link that will be there for you is a link to register at the lowest available price. And if you are listening after the masterclass is complete, then the link will redirect you to buy the recordings. So regardless of when you're listening to this episode, you'll be able to either access coming to the live masterclass or purchasing the recordings. Of course, if you purchase before and you aren't able to attend live, or you are and you just want to watch it again, you will also receive the recordings. And if you do register for the live masterclass, you'll also be invited to a Q&A call that is being held 1 week later. So it gives you plenty of time to have a listen to the class, maybe once or twice, Have a think about what you're doing in your own business. Consider the application of consent-based marketing to your business and where you might have some challenges or where you might have some questions. And then you can come along to our live Q&A, which is our follow-up call to ensure that you've got that guidance and mentorship through transitioning to a more consent-based approach to your marketing and sales. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine, and I hope to see a bunch of you at the Consent-Based Marketing Masterclass. Bye for now.